You might have seen a couple of months back that Google actually announced and released a new streaming box for Google TV. It's called the Google TV Streamer 4K. Rather surprisingly, at least for me, they seem like they are dropping the Chromecast name despite the fact that they've been using it for a long time and it is completely ubiquitous at this point. This is the box in question, and it is starting off at $99.99. So it is a pretty good jump up from the Chromecast with Google TV that I've actually used quite a bit for only $29.99. Now, there are a few improvements overall to this device, right? So you are going to be getting, instead of 8 gigs of internal storage, 32 gigs of storage. There is an Ethernet port on the back. The remote control has been improved a little bit, but to be totally honest with you, I don't see a lot that would warrant tripling the price, but maybe that will change when we actually set the thing up and begin using it, which is what we're going to do right now. There also was no HDMI cable, which is something I'm just now realizing, so should have been in the box. Okay, so we've plugged it in and we are firing this thing up for the first time. So you will see the setup process here in front of you. I may have to kind of skip a few things that might contain personal information, but in general, this should be the setup process. We have our lovely new remote here. I'm curious to see how smooth this system is going to operate. Press and hold those two buttons. I think we're probably like pairing it. So you see the light pulsating. The light is pulsating. So yes, we are apparently pairing the controller to the box. But I have some other Android TV boxes like the old NVIDIA Shield. I have one from ON that are both quite smooth. So again, I'm really curious to see if this one's going to move around the operating system as smoothly as those do. So we have our setup process using the Google Home app. So I'm going to use the QR code to grab this and jump straight into that setup process. I love the fact that when you're going through this setup, you're giving it the Wi-Fi information, you're signing in here on your phone. You don't have to do a bunch of typing with the remote, which is absolutely terrible. All right, so we have now finally arrived at our home screen after a firmware update and then sort of this long setting up process, or just there was a loading bar going for a very long amount of time. I do want to point out that Google did say versus their last gen device, which is that Chromecast with Google TV, this thing should be apparently 22% faster. It is also worth pointing out that we're talking about a 4-year-old device, and this thing is a 22% speed improvement. It's definitely nothing super landmark. Now, if you're familiar with current Google TV devices, this UI is going to be very, very familiar. You have your For You tab, you have this Live tab, which will feature all manner of different sort of free streaming television that Google is now offering, kind of reminiscent of Tubi or was it Pluto TV, I think? It's kind of similar to that. You have a screen for all your various applications, and this also serves as your app store. If you would like, let's quickly do this. We'll just fire up this very quickly and go ahead and install Paramount Plus. Even though I don't use Paramount Plus, it'll show how quickly this thing is actually able to install an application, which seems like it's doing relatively well. It's not blazingly fast, and of course, as I say that, it's going to hang on the installing part for a very long time. We'll just let this play out because I want you to see how long it takes. We are getting into the disappointing territory, I would say, as time goes on. And there we go. We're going to go ahead and uninstall that now because I don't actually use Paramount Plus. That was at least very, very fast. And then you have your library tab all the way to the right, which is going to show your things purchased through Google, of which I have very, very little. Most people probably aren't going to use that tab. On your For You screen, you do have this top picks thing, which almost just serves as like an advertisement. They try and kind of pick things that might be something that it thinks that you're going to watch, and sometimes this is pretty decent. Your apps are right here, and you can sort of scroll through these. You can see some of these, like Tubi and YouTube TV, have the little download icon because they're not actually installed. Let's long press on that and see if I can I move it? So we're going to long press it again, and this time go to View Details, and we should be able to uninstall there. So it's actually installed. It looks like maybe it's just archived. So we'll do the same thing for YouTube TV as well because I do not use that. You'll see some videos that you were recently watching down here. This is one of these things that on other devices has been kind of flaky. Sometimes stuff pops up, sometimes it doesn't. As you can see, it's just pulling up YouTube videos for now, but it should do this for any application that you're using. But again, we're going to see how well this actually works. Live news, we have a browsing section, and basically just a bunch of categories of things that it thinks you might want to watch. Of course, on the remote, you have the YouTube button and the Netflix button. You also have that little star icon, which I believe is going to allow me to set a favorite. So let's go ahead and go to done, and let's click on that star. And yes, it's going to ask me what I want it to do. So set a favorite app, change the device input on your television. You're free to kind of change what you want that to be. Let's go ahead and fire up YouTube, and we'll just see how quickly this application is moving. This is my most used application, so we're going to see how fast it is. Honestly, that didn't seem too bad. We'll fire up a video from Mr. Mobile, and we've jumped into it pretty darn quickly. No real complaints there either. And I mean, that's really what we're looking for, right? Is the ability for this thing to just move between stuff, between applications, jump around very fast. And as you can see, it's doing that very well. Let's hit the Netflix button and fire that up. We're moving from YouTube straight into Netflix. And I don't know if it's going to have me signed in or not. Definitely taking its time. And it did pop up and ask me if it wanted to sign me in through my Google account. I hit OK on that one, and it should be now bringing me into my Netflix profile. So I would say overall, not too bad there either. We're just going to fire up a show and see if this is going to start playing pretty quickly. We'll click on the YouTube button and try to jump straight back into that YouTube video right where we left off. Let's go back to Netflix and see if it can handle this kind of crazy stuff. I think that it's holding up pretty well, but I will say this. We can't tell a whole lot just from this test. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to plug this in to my living room, use it as the primary television streamer. We're going to use it for a day or so, and then come back after a little time jump and see how it's handling it. All right, so a couple of days have gone by, and you can actually tell because there's a rug on the floor that wasn't there whenever I started filming this. And I got to tell you that my experience with this thing so far has been pretty darn good. Over that span of time, I don't know that I can think of a single instance where I have felt this thing like really bogged down or do anything weird. The box that I had been using was that ON 4K Pro box that I reviewed on the channel, and there were a few strange things that it would occasionally do. Like sometimes in Netflix, shows just would never load. You would go to try and play a show, and it would just sit there loading and loading and loading forever. That just does not seem to be a problem on this box at all. Shows do seem to fire up quite quickly. My dogs are playing right next to me. Please be quiet. I'm trying to work. Shows fire up very, very quickly, and they play correctly. Something else that this thing has alleviated, I hit the wrong button there, that was a problem on that ON box was that sometimes I will actually pull up videos on this computer and then cast my tab to the TV in the living room to watch it that way. And for whatever reason, with that box, this was a problem that wasn't there in the beginning, and it kind of cropped up. The video will play in the strangest way. The audio will be correct, but the video will be playing in slow motion, such that the audio runs away from the video and it becomes unwatchable pretty much immediately. That is not a problem with this box. So again, a pretty distinct lack of hitches, lag, and other issues going on with this box. And that's really what you want, right? If you're going to spend $100, you want it to just perform normally. You want it to be quick and problem-free and to do what you expect it to do at a relatively fast pace. And if we fire up YouTube, you'll see that this thing does seem to jump around really quite quickly. Speaking of that on-brand streamer, there's something that they actually kind of took from that I'm really happy is here, a remote finder feature. On the back of the streamer, there is a button, and when you press it, hopefully that's coming through. My microphone might be cutting that out. Maybe you can hear as I am talking. What is happening is it is chiming. There is a speaker on this remote, which allows you to very quickly find your remote. At this point, what I want to do is I want to turn to a community post that I made where I asked if anyone had any questions about this device, and I'm going to try to go through and answer as many of these as I can. So, any advantages over the current Google TV? If you're talking about the one that's about $30 I referenced earlier, yes, it does seem to be faster and smoother. You have the remote finder thing, and that is definitely pretty cool. Google Home integration features. That's something we can dive into here. On your home screen, if you press the home button and hold it, you're going to get this little pop-up. You can also just manually scroll over to the little settings gear, but either way. And you will see a Google Home option. This looks very much like an Android quick settings menu. If you click on that, once you're signed in, you will see your Google Home integration. In fact, there is my front door Wyze camera. I don't know if you're going to be able to see this. If you watch over my shoulder, I should be able to turn off a light that you can visibly see. So that is pretty cool. Now, it is, of course, looking at my favorites, but there's more than that. You can jump into lighting, the climate. I can change my thermostat all right there on my TV. Could you use your Android phone to connect to the device and control it from there inside the Google Home application? Yes, indeed, you can. So that you can see this, that is what you actually see for the remote control. There's a section in the middle, which is basically like a swipe thing. You can just tap it to select, but you can also just sort of swipe around to control it. And you can see that that is exactly what I am doing right now, and it works just fine. Change the volume. As you can see, mute. You've got your assistant if you want to use the little voice thing to look for a show. Shane Craig Tech YouTube. And there you go. Everything firing up really well. So yeah, if you can't find your remote and the finder isn't working or your phone just is nearer to you, totally works. Next up on the list is USB OTG. So this thing does not have like a USB-A port on the back of it. It does have a USB-C for power. So what I'm going to test is unplugging the power, plugging in a USB-C hub, power through the hub, and then a flash drive with some media on it. That way, we'll see if that actually works. So this is a USB hub from Ugreen, which I have had kicking around for a long time. We're going to plug that in to the actual device, and then we're going to plug my power cable into that, and hopefully what we will have in just a moment is a device that is booting up. It is booting up. Now the next question will be, will it actually fully boot up? And then will this USB or a couple of USB-A ports, will they actually be functional? We'll go ahead and plug the flash drive in and cross our fingers. We are booting, so power is just fine. All right, so we're in our settings. We go system, we go storage, and then I do see my flash drive, but it says that it is safely ejected. So I'm going to try to unplug that and plug it back in and see if we can figure out what's going on here. It seems to think there is an issue with my flash drive. It thinks that it is corrupt. So let's just unplug this, and we'll just plug in another random flash drive and see if we get the same error with it. This one it seems to like, and you can do eject or erase and format as device storage. So that's cool. So you could do this and just expand your storage, but I want to like play a media file. Okay, so the other card is working. I had it formatted in the wrong format. It is now exFAT and it is functioning, but I don't see a way to browse the files on it. We're probably going to need a third-party app to do that. So let's go over to our apps and let's go get one. I know that there are probably many better TV file exploring apps, but this is one that I'm used to. I've used it for a long time on my phone. So I'm going to install CX File Explorer, and in theory, this should work just fine. And there is the file that I put on here. We're going to fire it up, and we should begin playing. And there you go. We're playing. It is working just fine. Is this an upgrade from the NVIDIA Shield from about 6 years ago? In some ways, there are going to be some individual features that are nice, like the remote finder, but in terms of like raw speed, the Shield was so wildly overpowered. It is still very fast, and in fact, it is what powers the projector in my living room to this day. So if you've got the Shield, you're probably okay. So this person's asking about gaming, and honestly, that is complex enough of a topic that would probably need to be like a standalone. I've not really tested any gaming at all, so just going to skip past this one. This person asked, can you cast from a laptop that isn't a Chromebook? And this person is correct. Just use any sort of Chrome browser. You can right-click anywhere and click on cast, and you will see it, and off you go. Can any smart TV use this, and is it really useful? Yes, and yes, it is your portal to all the apps that your heart will ever desire. Can you output to Nest speakers? I don't know, but I do see audio output here. Connect another device. Pair remote or accessory. So this is looking like a way for me to like pair like a Bluetooth speaker or something like that. I don't know that that's a thing you can do. If you can, it's not something that I'm familiar with. Maybe somebody can correct me in the comments, but I don't think that's a thing. I went ahead and did some Googling, and I found this article from Ben at 9 to 5 Google. The Google TV streamer can't use Nest speakers for audio beyond speaker groups. So hopefully that more definitively answers that question. For the next one, I'd love to be able to connect multiple Bluetooth headsets to this. Probably doesn't support this or Auracast. You can pair like earbuds or headphones or something to it, but I don't think you can have more than one thing paired to it at a time. It's only going to output to that one thing. Just out of curiosity though, here are my Pixel Buds Pro 2, and I'm going to there you go. Your save device is available. So Pixel Buds, right out of the box, it's going to grab them. I didn't even have to put it in pairing mode, so that's really cool. Does it come in other colors? It does. You can get it in white, and you can get it in hazel. Hazel is exclusive to the Google Store, and it will ship whenever they feel like it. There may be a way to get multi-window working. I don't know why you'd want to do that, and I can't imagine that's going to work super well. Steam Link connection. I know they didn't change the Wi-Fi. It is Wi-Fi 5. I haven't tested Steam Link stream, but it is Wi-Fi 5. You would want to use that Ethernet cable, and I would imagine that it's probably usable. But that would fall under the purview of maybe that separate gaming video. So guys, hopefully I've answered a lot of questions about this thing and given you my general thoughts. It does seem pretty good. I will say though that it is fairly expensive. It is $100. And even though it has a few problems that have cropped up for me, things that I have mentioned, this is $50 and it's really, really good. I feel like you're paying the extra $50 to get sort of like maybe a better looking device, at least as far as I'm concerned, and also just a bit more fit and finish when it comes to the overall software experience. You're probably going to get updates a little bit more quickly as well. So you have to kind of make that decision for yourself which way you think makes more sense. I will put some links in the description to products and to older video reviews. Like maybe I'll link to the review of this thing I did a while back, and you can kind of check that out for yourself. Thanks for watching. Subscribe for more content like this, and until next time, stay nerdy, my friends.